Just the ratio of one nutrient to another is what brings you into balance. Balance isn't just about each individual, it's how they react with each other.
Life is all about relationships. Lovers, family, body, or money. How satisfied you are can be completely explained by how you relate to things around you. This is Sophie Jaffe, and together with my husband, Dr. Adi Jaffe, we are here to explore and teach you how to maximize your relationships and achieve a happier life. Let's get ignited.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Ignited Relationships Podcast. I'm Adi Jaffe.
And I'm Sophie Jaffe.
And we are coming to you today to wrap up January, our elevated wellness month.
Yes.
We hope you've had an elevated wellness experience, but this is the beginning of the year. This is when everybody makes their resolutions. Everybody says what they want 2020 or whatever year it is to look like. And hopefully we gave you some tools. We're going to talk about some of the people we talked to make that happen in your life. I want to start out with the review. Drum roll. That was nice. It was like an electronic drum roll. Today's comes from Cinnaberry. December 23rd, right before Christmas. I like it. Stayed the course with Ignited. I can't remember if I found philosophy first or the Ignited podcast first, but regardless, I'm so happy to have both in my life. Yay. I'm older than both Dr. Adi and his wife Sophie, so I wasn't sure if I could relate to anything they might talk about. I was so wrong, and I'm glad that I stayed the course and kept listening. So many of the topics have hit me right in the gut and been so spot on. Listening to both Dr. Adi and Sophie, as well as their guests, has been so educational and inspirational for me. Their willingness to be an open book about their relationship, their friendships, both the good, bad, and the ugly has helped me to relate in so many ways. I've started a savings envelope so that I can save up and be ready to attend the Ignited Glow event next year. Yay!
I love that.
I'm so happy we picked this review. I'm so excited and would recommend this podcast to anyone who wants honest and real talk. I cannot wait to meet you at the next Glow, and you're going to get a little care package from us just for having the review.
Philosophy Superfoods and a book from Adi, The Abstinence Myth, and an Ignited mug or a hat, depending on which one you want.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay, so
you got a quote for us?
Yeah, this is just something that someone actually made of me, and it's a beautiful quote that I guess I said in an interview. But it's
don't you love that when people remind you what you say is important?
Thank you for that. It's great to remember. So it just says, I love me. I deserve to feel good. I trust myself when it's time to take a break. I can rest at any time. I speak to myself as if I'm speaking to my best friend. And I think that in wellness, we can be really hard on ourselves in health with all of the things to do and check off and just being a good human. And in the wellness sphere, especially if you're tapped into social media and the internet, there's a lot of what seemingly pressure to do it all right. And are you meditating? And are you working out? And are you moving? And are you drinking enough water? And are you getting enough sleep? And it's like, it feels like a lot, especially when you're out of sync with it. And even for me, I've been in the wellness space for so long now, 15 years, and I'm exhausted from it. Like, let's all go eat some burgers and have some ice cream. Like I said this yesterday to my manager, I'm like, I'm exhausted by the wellness movement. And at the same time, I love it. And
you're in the middle of a cleanse.
And I'm in the middle of a cleanse that I know helps me and gives me mental focus and clarity and helps me be my best self because it strips away the layers of the person that wants to eat ice cream all day. And, it's all of these tools and tricks from wellness that allow me to be the best version of me. And at the same time, I can hate it. And we go through phases. And I think just know that it's not all roses and butterflies, even for someone who's been in the wellness space I live and breathe wellness. I am very optimistic, and I wake up, and I want to drink my alkaline water. And like, I do love wellness, and I also get annoyed with it just like anything else. And I think that it's important always for like what I know you guys come back to Adi and I personally and together at this podcast, what you continuously come back for is the realness, is the rawness, and very often I feel frustrated with the marketplace. And I'm a person who sells a product. I have a superfood company, and I'm still annoyed with the push and the push and the push of stuff that you need to buy to be well. It's not true.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope that this month you bottled up, because we weren't really pushing products. It's much more of we didn't say you need all these things in your medicine cabinet or you need all these things. We're trying to give you tangible tools and tricks in your toolbox to be able to empower yourself in your own wellness journey. And that
Definitely.
can look like a lot of products, or it can look like zero products and just what you're doing within your own mind, because we need to be well in spirit, in mind, in heart, in our physical practice, everything. It all works together. And we want you to try all the things we suggest and then throw them all out the window and then decide what works for you.
Yeah, that's so, it's so good for people to remember that even when you're well practiced, I was going to say really good at it, but keep getting better. Even when you're really practiced at this, there's work to be done.
Always.
Last night you were saying, I'm sick of the game, or I'm sick of this push that you were talking about. And I was mentioning, that's the thing. When things move from hobby to what you do, your work,
Totally.
your calling, there's a lot of bullshit you have to put up with.
Yeah.
And the only thing I've ever resonated with that has allowed me to get through all of it is it's just the next step to where I'm going.
Yeah.
And so like if I want to walk from here to San Francisco, whatever, if I really, really want to get to San Francisco, the next step, the next mile I have to walk, the next 10 miles I have to walk are just steps to get me where I'm going. So they don't matter all that much in their own right.
And also something I've covered a lot this week with clients and friends is that it's uncomfortable sometimes. Like what I was frustrated with last night when we were talking is just like, it's uncomfortable and it's a lot of work. And I've been working so hard for so long. I'm tired of all that effort.
Yeah.
And you know what? If I'm going to get to the next fucking step and the next phase, it's going to be uncomfortable and I'm not going to like it. And I'm going to have experience resistance in my body and just like, I want to give up. And that's at every step of the way. When we moved into this house, I would go to my bed. I would cry at 2 p.m. in the afternoon and be like, this house is too big. We made a mistake. I can't hear the babies breathe at night.
Wow, you
They're
never
too
even told
far.
me half
They're
this stuff.
too far away. I have nowhere to go. The house is too big. I'd go and lay in our cozy bed. Bless you, Brooke Linen. Shout out to the best linen sheets ever. I would wrap myself up and I would just be like, okay, and just collect myself and feel connected to being in a small space. Because even our room felt so big. Everything felt big and I felt very small in it. And I didn't feel at home for months.
Yeah. And thank you, Claire, for giving us the paint to make that room feel a little smaller, right?
Yeah.
Like all these pieces come together.
Yeah. We painted the room dark and that helps it feel smaller. And we have more furniture in there that's bigger. We brought a bigger couch and it's all like, it's not supposed to be comfortable.
Well, so, it's funny. Friday, I guess a couple of weeks now, episode 70 from the Friday episodes that I do was about jumping into the deep end and about how we constantly find ourselves tested. Even when we're going to talk about health with some of the specific interviews that we had this month, we find ourselves tested all the time. The myth, the falsehood is, well, if I just don't push, I'll be okay. But what happens to most of us is then we find ourselves stagnant. And then we get bored of the same. And so we have to push ourselves to get out of the same. And what I find can happen to a lot of people, and it's okay to kind of have the pendulum swing. Right. But what happens to a lot of people is they think, if I just stop pushing, I'll be happy where I am right now. Right. And then 6 months later, they're pissed at themselves for not being at a different level. So there's almost like this internal conversation you have to have with yourself. Oh, I know how this works. I push myself and I get tired of that and I hate it and I rebel against it. But then if I pause 6 months, 8 months, a year later, I'm mad at myself for not being farther than where I am now. So I have to find the balance. And this is why we ask people about the self-care routines. This is why we give you guys the information is, how do I control that pendulum swing to some extent? Oh, I pushed as hard as I can right now. Let me take the break I need to refuel and then come right back and push again.
Exactly.
In the end, we all want momentum. We all want progress. We all want to move forward. So it's just up to us to find the balance. And we've had so many guests this month that really focus on helping our listeners and the people that they work with find that balance and move themselves forward.
Exactly. And I think it's as we always say, it's not a linear, straightforward path to the next thing. Like I say that in healing, but also in growth. It can be 10 steps back. It can feel like when we moved in this house, I felt alone. I felt like I made a mistake. I felt scared. I felt all my fears come up. I was super anxious all the time, remember? And I'm like, I'm losing my mind. Maybe I made a mistake. Like our marriage is going to fall apart. I'm a bad mom. Look what I'm doing to these children. Like every possible fear came up. Some of it was not even close to being real. Some of it I really had pushed myself past that edge. But it feels so hard. And I took several steps back. And now we're in this great spot. But it took us several months. And it's not comfortable. It's not easy. And sometimes you do take several steps back to get forward. And that is okay. And that's normal. And that's to be expected because healing isn't linear. Everything is a spiral. And oftentimes we fall flat on our faces in order to then get back up and be like, oh.
Sure. I was also equated to the fact that, look, you're exploring an unchartered life.
Yeah.
It's your life.
Yeah.
Nobody else has lived this life before.
Yeah.
This is yours.
And it's
Your
based off
mom-
intuition and you have like things that are like magical and not tangible. You have to tune into that.
So if you're looking at a map and the map hasn't been, remember that game Minesweeper?
No.
And like when you had to like click a button and then like, anyway.
Is this an Israeli game?
No.
I'm just kidding.
Minesweeper. How would that be an Israeli game? And I just translated it.
Yeah.
So the idea is this, like you decide to take a turn. And when you take that turn, it could be a really great move for you. But it could not. It could suck. Those 10 steps back you're talking about is just you hitting a dead end and going, oh shit, that was the wrong street.
It's just a different path that's going to give you lessons.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's not wrong. It just sometimes feels very bumpy and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And that's part of the journey.
Yeah. Remember in Dominican Republic, that ride we went on, that really bumpy ride in that like not even no seatbelts, open, there were no windows. It was just this open, like it was bumpy as hell. And we got finally up to the top and it's the most beautiful place you could ever go with 360-degree views. But we had to go up that path that way. We could have hiked it, but otherwise that was the only form of transportation we could get up there. And it was uncomfortable and bumpy.
I don't know, the hiking would have made it easier.
Not easier. I'm saying there was no alternative.
Yeah.
That was the only way up.
Yep.
Hire someone to take us up in a helicopter,
Good call. Next time.
Yeah. But I think also to this month, who do we have on? We had Robin from Parsley Health.
Yep.
We had this episode is Jeff from Paragon, the vitamin company, which you'll hear later.
Both, by the way, companies that allow you to get a little bit more control of your health.
And more freedom. It's more freedom. Like that control then gives you freedom. So you taking it into your own hands, like Paragon, we have a code for you guys. It's Jaffe50, and that gives you half off their vitamin hair test and 6 weeks of vitamins to your home. So Jaffe50 is the code to do your own hair sample. You'll hear more about that in this interview. But again, it's empowering you to take your medicine, medical history, your health, your wellness, all of it into your own hands, empowering you to make choices and feel that freedom to decide what you want to do.
Yeah.
What do you want to? Okay, now I see I have low X, Y, and Z and high X, Y, and Z. What do I want to do? If I have high mercury levels, I can keep eating fish every single day if that's my favorite thing and I'm going to be stubborn or I cannot. Or I can say, okay, I'm going to make the choice to make these shifts and changes.
I think that's a really important thing to understand, right? Is we all have choice all the time. It's about internalizing, what do I want?
And taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Take responsibility for yourself. Don't just go to the doctor once a year, maybe. And, if you're lucky enough to have insurance, beautiful. A lot of us aren't. Many people in this country do not have health insurance. There are lots of creative ways to become well. And no, nothing replaces if you need high-end surgery or medical care or you have a disease or something like that. But like day-to-day wellness is preventative healthcare. And that is key.
Yeah, we don't do that a lot in this country. And, actually, ironically, everybody in this country has to have healthcare now because of Obamacare. But most people can't afford good healthcare, so they buy these catastrophe plans where essentially you're paying every month, but the only thing it really covers, like if you get in a car accident, you have to be hospitalized for a month.
That's what it'll cover.
They'll give you a bunch of money for that and then drop you because you're going to be too expensive.
And I think even when it comes to wellness, looking at it more holistically, like Dr. James Gordon, looking at our wellness, the wellness of a society, the wellness of a culture, like we are not well. We all put on our like suits and like pull our bootstraps. Like we all keep going in America and act like we're fine. There is a lot of issues in this country, from hunger to homelessness to, you know, just extreme poverty for children.
Bigotry and racism.
Racism. Like we are fucked. And
well, I don't know if
we also have a lot of money in this country, so it's confusing. So like from the outside, it might look.
Yeah, but I don't know if we're fucked. Like we also.
I mean, right now.
Yeah, but we also have a country where we can speak out against our government and not get shot or arrested. Like there's some real positive stuff that happens in this country.
Except for the people that are getting blocked on social media and can't speak out because of certain things they are saying that are against the government. But yeah, I mean, it's not as bad as China. Sure. It's not as bad as certain parts of the world or certain third world countries. All I'm saying is that as a country, we need to look at the holistic, not just the individual. And I think in the States especially, we really look at the individual instead of the whole. Sure. And I think that if you didn't listen to Dr. James Gordon's interview, go back and listen, because it's an inspiration for what to do, how to do it, and what really matters when it comes to a society.
And it's so simple. That's the thing, is the solutions he offers are so simple.
Yeah.
We in the wellness world know them well, and yet they're not transferring.
No, we're not applying them to the whole. We're applying them to ourselves. So take whatever it is. If you feel like you've got all this stuff down, that is amazing. And we bow to you and are so proud of you. Truly. Like, yes. And now it's time to apply that and take that into your neighborhood. Take that into your community. Take it down to the border. Take it to a third world country. Now take that knowledge of wellness and how to be a well human being and well balanced, and apply that to someone else, help someone else in need. Yeah.
And, you know, look, a lot of us are coming out of January. We want to make all these changes for ourselves. By the way, those were a lot of the resolutions you created were about you.
Yep.
What can we do to make the world better, right? So take Sophie's advice and say, okay, maybe now coming out, and maybe you got your workout schedule on point. Maybe your diet is going well. My guess is if you're like a lot of the people we talk to, then some of it has worked, some of it hasn't. What can you do not just to refocus your efforts on how to get thinner or lower your blood pressure? All really important things, all things you should pay attention to. Make your relationship better, still really important things. Even there's community, right? Making my relationships better because you're bringing it into the whole. But then on a much bigger scale, and we're going to bring some of that to you. We're really making a commitment between Philosophy and Ignited this year to create and bring social issues, social justice, and giving back as a huge component of what we're doing here, because we can walk the walk personally, get the information out to you, and that is wonderful and it's beautiful, but we want to create impact on a bigger level.
We want to create impact, and it's really easy to turn a blind eye. It's really easy to be like, I'm doing all these things and I'm living in integrity, and then you walk right by a bunch of homeless people on Skid Row. Like, no.
Yeah.
You need to do more. We all need to do more. And so we're here to help facilitate that, and we hope you'll join us on our mission and our journey. And we love you all. I hope you enjoy this interview with Jeff from Paragon, and let us know if you have any questions. And please share, as always, tag Dr. D. Jaffe, Sophie.Jaffe, and Ignited.me on Instagram, and let us know what you are loving this month in wellness.
And stay tuned for next month's theme.
Yep. Mwah.
Bye.
This episode of the Ignited podcast is brought to you by Philosophy Superfoods. The Philosophy offers cleanses and other nutritional products that are unlike any of the other supplements and detoxification programs on the market. Why? Because they actually nourish the body with whole, live, nutrient-rich foods instead of depriving you and leaving you hungry. Have you ever tried a cleanse only to find out that you can't make it through a whole day because you're starving? Ever try a superfood shake that made you nauseous because it was so disgusting you'd rather not eat? The Philosophy fix all that with a simple set of offerings that load up your body with nutrients while actually tasting good. Makes sense, right? Each of the Philosophy superfood and protein blends is vegan, raw, gluten-free, and has absolutely no filler ingredients. With over 15,000 satisfied customers, including some of the world's biggest celebrities like George Clooney, Gerard Butler, Lea Michele, and over 10 years of experience, this is the best stuff you can get. To buy some or find out more info, go to our website, thephilosophy.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the conversation part of today's wonderful podcast. We've got Jeff from Paragon with us here today. And, so if we've talked before on this podcast about how healthcare is changing, how our expectations of what healthcare means for us are changing. And obviously technology has a piece of that. But I feel like also another component is this kind of, in this age where we're becoming less and less individual people for a lot of the companies we work with, there are now companies that are making putting a specific emphasis on making you feel like you're more individual and taking care of you. You've had some experience with Paragon. Do you want to talk about it for a second?
Yeah. Well, let's get to my experience in a minute. I'd rather you, Jeff, introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about you and why you started Paragon, and then we can get into my personal story.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so Jeff Smith, I'm co-CEO of Paragon Vitamins. I've worked in the consumer health space for a long period of time. Almost 30 years with one of the largest consumer healthcare companies in the world, and had seen many, obviously, iterations of looking after patients, dealing with people that are dealing with the stresses of everyday life, that are dealing with raising families, busy jobs, and as we all know, the activity in a go hustle world with our mobile devices and always on connected status. And the piece that I think has changed in healthcare for people in a daily way is just being able to look after many of those decisions themselves. They want to get involved in their health and wellness, and they're less inclined to go to their doctor and take a prescription. They're less inclined to self-select OTC over-the-counter medicines at stores. They're looking for things that are more natural, that help their bodies perform at their best. That is just beyond, eating good food, working out. They're looking for that little bit of an edge to help them get through that. And so as I exited and retired, I was very fortunate to have a great career and very pleased with what that was able to deliver in terms of insight and education, to be able to connect up with a family friend, Sam Bach, who was an investment banker, decided he wanted to be an Olympic athlete, Canadian born and raised, and jumped into bobsleigh, Canadian bobsleigh Olympic team, and found quickly that much of the Olympic sports were you got this whole issue of performance enhancing drugs. How do you compete? And he put his efforts into understanding the cells in your body and how to get the most fuel from those to be able to compete with those that were doing it on performance enhancing drugs, and had tremendous success. Went on to coach and train athletes, professional athletes, and created a company that was focused on 10, 12 athletes every year. And as I headed to retirement, it was like, how do we make this available for everybody? Why is it only for high performance athletes? How do we make it for people that are high performance moms and high performance dads, trying to just eke out a great life and feel their best every day? And that's how Paragon Vitamins was born.
I love it. Well, I really appreciate you being here, and I've been partnering with you guys for a few months now, and I'm honestly it couldn't have come at a better time. As our listeners know, I had our baby 18 months ago, and it's been a ride. It was a much more difficult pregnancy than the boys, the girl, hormones, and I was sick a lot longer and a lot more intensely with baby Noah, and the whole pregnancy was really rough. I kept thinking that the sickness was gone because with the boys, it was only 12 to 15 weeks max that I was throwing up and nauseous. With Noah, it just kept coming in waves. And it was just really intense and really hard on me. I was in a dark place. Like, it took me really hormonally and emotionally, all kinds of places that I wasn't prepared for. And then it was a pretty good couple of months after that. And then when I weaned this summer, she was about 15 months, my hormones went through another crazy dip and ride. And that's when I started working with you guys. I was kind of just super depleted, working on all cylinders, firing on all cylinders, completely depleted, not sure what else to do. I'm healthy. I sleep pretty well considering I'm a mom of 3. My kids pretty much all sleep through the night religiously. You know, they're really good sleepers and all the normal things like, oh, you must not sleep. Like, no, I do sleep. Actually, I'm pretty good about that. And I eat really healthy. You know, I work out when I can, but my energy levels just felt different. And my, just my stores felt empty. And it's the first time in my life I've experienced that, where I just had nothing left to give. Like, I would come to a conversation at dinner with my husband and I'd be like, I cannot speak. Like, I have nothing left to give. And then, you know, I think it was a perfect timing situation where you guys entered my life. And the minute I heard about Paragon, my ears perked up and I felt really drawn to it because of what I was going through personally. And also, as someone who's been in the wellness space for 15 years now, I take vitamins because intuitively I think I know what I'm doing. But at the end of the day, you know, I was sitting with one of my best friends who's very much not in wellness and has no idea. And she was saying, feeling low energy. And I was like, oh, I'll give you all these things. This was right before I spoke with you guys. And she was like, well, how do you know what to take? And I'm standing in front of my vitamin drawer and I'm like, well, it's kind of intuitive. Like, I just know that if I haven't been eating a lot of meat and I'm low energy, then I need more B12, and I need more iron, you know, and I kind of railed off all these things. But at the end of the day, I don't really know what I'm taking. And it's based off years and years of talking with nutritionists and take this for that and take that for this. And so my cabinet is, you know, overflowing with different vitamins to take when I think I should, but also I forget all the time. And anyway, so long story short, you guys came into my life in a beautiful, you know, perfect time. And what I love about Paragon is that you take a hair sample. So, my assistant Taylor cut my hair. She used to cut hair and I would trust no one else to do so. So she cut my hair. We got a hair sample and I talked to Sam. I was lucky enough to talk to Sam about my results when they came back. And I was so excited. We talked for over an hour. And honestly, like you said in the beginning, just giving the customer, just a normal customer, control and power over their own health and wellness, and just say, you know, there's no pressure to get these vitamins from us. We do supply them. However, here's the information. Like, just to get the test, I mean, it's a lot to go get a blood test, but like just a simple hair test isn't that big of a deal. You take it, you send it in, you guys make it super simple, you know, with like all the information you have to do to fill it out. It makes it, the process is super easy. And I think that the more that, you know, technology meets with wellness and health and the medical system, it's only going to get better and better. And this is a prime example. So thank you for an amazing product line and for sharing it with me. And, you know, I know so many of my own mom friends that just had babies around when I did, and friends of a lifetime who have all done Paragon now because I did. And it really, again, it's empowering as a human being to be able to take your health into your own hands and just say, okay, that makes sense. I am low in that. And I'll just get, you know, these supplements and start to take my health and wellness into my own hands. So that's my long short story with you.
Yeah, and interestingly, the aspect around motherhood is not an uncommon aspect of our early company. We're seeing a decent level of support from people who are just like you, who are dealing with children at various levels, whether it's a first child or a third child. But as you were talking there, it struck me, as you said, 15 years in the wellness space. Mm-hmm. You practice good physical exercise with your yoga and other activity. You eat well behind you've obviously got a company that also provides, great nutritional advice, food source nutrition. Yeah. And yet, you still, it's hard to get everything in your knowledge bank, particularly when you go stand in front of a store in the section or the vitamin section in a store, and you just see like thousands of bottles and trying deciphering which ones are good quality, which ones are not. But then which ones do I take? And if I take this one with this one, do they counteract each other or not? I mean, it's such a huge task for an individual to figure out. And, one of the things that struck me was, the research we did when we were starting the company. 75% of the people in America today are taking some type of a vitamin on a daily basis, which points to there's a desire to do something to take control of what might be getting in their way. Some of it just might be, I'm taking vitamin D because I read it somewhere, I should take it in the wintertime, that type of thing. Yeah. But they don't really understand. And you hit on an important point, because things like you go to your doctor and the doctor will do a blood test, but a blood test is extremely helpful if you're trying to figure out iron or vitamin D. But in something like magnesium or potassium, like 2% of your magnesium is in your blood, the rest of it's stored in your cells. 1% of your potassium is in your blood. So it's hard to determine, should I take magnesium if your blood test is only measuring 2% of your magnesium in your body. And same with a DNA test. There's a lot of hype around genomics and DNA, but it really only tells you have a marker. You might be susceptible to, you have a marker for a vitamin D deficiency, for example. But it doesn't tell you if you currently are vitamin D deficient. And that, the hair test is the secret to what we see is unlocking what you really need to know about your body, regardless if you take any vitamins from us or anybody else, unlocking just what is going on in my cells. And your hair is, almost 80% protein, and all the minerals, all the toxins that you've got from, aluminum or lead or mercury or something, from your diet, show up in that hair sample. And so we think there's so much power technology-wise to unlock your body's performance level just from a hair strand.
Yeah, that's so cool. And is the information that you get, because we do it really close to it's like the newer hair, right? Like, is it how many months worth of depletion is that? Or how many months worth of information is that?
Yeah, that's a good point. That first, call it 1.5 inches of your hair that we sort of ask from closest to the scalp, is about the last 90 days of your eating habits, your exercise habits, those things that are, that are building up in your body, the lack of, or even excess nutrients from a diet. If you were to take, a full, call it 12 inches of hair particularly from a female that's got, longish hair, you could cut that in 3 and do 3 different hair tests and sort of see like last 6 months, last, 14 months, last 2 years. But, for to recommend a program to somebody on something built up over 2 years ago may not be true anymore. So we focus on the stuff, in the last 90 days, and that's the stuff that, by habit you want to change.
Yeah. I'm so excited. I want to do a hair sample like in a month or 2 with you guys and see what has shifted and changed. Obviously I did get all your vitamins, and it makes it really easy because they're in little pouches of like day 1, morning, night, midday. And I'm not perfect, and I miss several, doses or days worth, but I overall have been incorporating them more than not. And I definitely feel a difference in my energy levels. I definitely feel a difference in my body. I definitely have more energy when I'm working out. And that's the thing I love about wellness and natural, like living a natural life to the best of my ability, is that these nutrients and foods in their most natural state really do provide so much magic and value when you cut out everything else. And I live a pretty pure life, so it's not hard for me, but I definitely what I love about the human body is that it wants to be optimized. It wants to do well. It wants to detox on its own. And then life just gets in the way, and stress and pollution and our day-to-day lives and alcohol and gluten and all these things that like build up over time get in the way of our body's natural ability to do what it's supposed to do. So it's not rocket science what you guys are introducing. Like maybe in the sports packs, it's giving you something new. But what it sounds like is you're depleted in these things. You have low levels of these things. Let's get you where you need to be, which I think is really cool. That it's not, it's not adding something new or foreign to the body. It's instead saying, let's just put you to where you're supposed to be right now. Things are a little off,
Yeah. I mean, you bring up an interesting point because, a lot of people try certain things on their own. We've had, a customer who, as they did their questionnaire and did their test, they basically wrote in and told us like, I don't really need to know much about calcium. I'm purposely cutting calcium out of my diet because I feel like it's, I'm gaining some weight from it, call it a late 30s female. And so I'm taking that in my own control, and I know that I'm going to be low on calcium. Lo and behold, she gets her results back and she's sky high on calcium. And she, it's like immediately I want to know why. Calls in, and what was out of balance and what's so important in your vitamins and your minerals is ratios, not individual vitamins or nutrients, but the ratio of one to another. And because she wasn't getting enough potassium in her diet, she wasn't able to synthesize and offset the calcium. And so she was still getting calcium from spinach and other things. She was cutting out the known things like milk and dairy or cheeses and stuff. So there's even that part of it where just the ratio of one nutrient to another is what brings you into balance. Balance isn't just about each individual; it's how they react with each other.
I love that.
So you could, yeah.
Just how complex it all is. I love
It
that,
is.
like the human body is so complex, and the fact that you guys actually are scientists and will have science backing and are looking at the information at hand. It's so fascinating to me. And half the things that Sam said went in one ear and out the other, but it was really comforting. It was comforting just to feel like seen and taken care of. I felt really taken care of. And now I know like the days that I have several days of the vitamins in a row, I just have more energy. I feel better. Again, these things are subtle. It's not like having a energy drink where, you go from 0 to 100. It's instead like something over time. And I say the same thing with my own company with superfoods. I mostly notice, over a given period of time. So maybe after 2 or 3 months of being on taking superfoods every single day for 2 or 3 months, then I feel and notice the difference in my skin, my hair, my nails, my energy. But more importantly, I notice when I don't have them for a while. So if I'm traveling and I don't have superfoods or adaptogens for a couple of days, that's when I start to notice my energy levels. I'm like, why am I tired at 11 a.m. or why am I feeling lethargic at 4, and as opposed to my normal everyday high functioning. And I think kind of the same thing with these vitamins is the days that I am having them and remembering them for the most part, I feel better. And it's not a huge leaping like, wow, I have so much energy, but I do just feel more balanced and good in my body.
Yeah, and we hear that a lot from people as early as a week into taking the program and getting on the program. The proof, though, the part that really makes me excited is not just that feeling, because sometimes people, particularly when they start a regimen of vitamins, they also start to do a little bit more exercise. They start to eat a little bit better. So, and we provide that whole, as that whole report that has all the tips on how to do that effectively for what your cellular activity is indicating. But they tend to get a little bit healthier just by, human nature. But when we do that retest, when people, redo it all, do the hair test, redo the questionnaire, and put it back together, and we put their charts side by side, sort of from start of the program to 6 months into the program, and they see the changes in their ratios, in their toxins. That's when I think, people get like, wow, it really is doing something.
Yeah.
And I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think a lot of people think vitamins, it's kind of like, do they work? I don't know. Maybe, I don't know for sure. And when they see that they do, they're like, wow, that's powerful.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it's a long, it's not a quick fix. It's something that's like long.
Yep.
It's continuously showing up, as often as you can remember. And I think that that's really the wave of the future in wellness, is not just a Band-Aid, but instead really the long run and putting the time and energy in.
Can I want to ask some specific questions, because you guys are talking about all these kind of overarching umbrella issues that are really important here. But, this, like you mentioned, this is a really complex topic. So I think what was attractive to me about the idea, at least behind this, is it is so hard to manage. It is hard to know how much of what to take, what you need to take. If you take more calcium, you've got to take more of this, that, and the other thing in order to be able to balance it, et cetera. So would you mind sharing with our listeners some of the things that maybe people don't know, that if you are told, or if you are taking a specific vitamin or a specific mineral, all the cascading resultant things that you also need to pay attention to that they might not know to expect?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two parts to it. One is if you go out and just buy a handful of different vitamin bottles and bring them home and start taking them, they're not going to do what I'll call significant harm to you. Unless you have something, particularly if you're taking a certain RX medication, there's times when there's some interactions. But generally, vitamins are they're basically just food nutrients. So it's like eating too many bananas potentially, right? You get too much potassium as a result. But your body finds ways to eliminate that and deal with that. I mean, obviously, you did it for an extended period of time, it might be different, but generally, there's no harm that people experience from not taking the right things. So, I mean, first and foremost, people shouldn't be afraid of taking vitamins for any reason. They're really just taking nutrition on top of what they're eating and how they're eating.
Yeah.
The important part is is getting as we see it, is just if you want to get your cells back into balance so that you sleep better, or that little conditions that we get people with like restless legs and some of these conditions, and it's because they're just they're missing certain nutrients in their body, and when they get on it, they find out within 2-3 weeks that things that they thought were just part of them go away. And it's as simple as viral warts on your body to restless legs that you think is just part of your your makeup or your DNA as a human. So getting that your body cell metabolism back into balance is really the way to deal with those things that are small but help you sleep better. Even things, and I know. Dr. Jeffrey, you're pretty. This is your field, but just putting that development and sort of a maintenance of a positive spirit. It comes from feeling like you're doing good things, and when you're balanced, your inputs from energy or your inputs from your nutrients give you energy, but they make you want to exercise more. That exercise is good for your brain, and it all sort of comes along with it, as opposed to just filling your body up with things you don't need.
Sure. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this question. So, like you mentioned, bananas, right? People know if they're getting a lot of muscle spasms, or if they're having issues with not just energy, but kind of muscle exertion, potassium is really
Cramps,
important. Yeah. Magnesium and calcium are important for sleep. And if you get them together, they help, they help the absorption and maximize the impact that you get from the two of them combined. I'm sure I know a lot about the neuroscience. I know a lot about kind of like developmental psychology and mental health struggles. You mentioned vitamin D. I've heard so many, I don't know, I want to call them wives' tales, although that's definitely not the right name for them because I definitely didn't hear them from wives. These sort of like urban legends about, oh, if you take a lot of calcium, you have to take, something else along with it in order for it to maximize absorption or something along those lines. And for me, that was always honestly the barrier, right? It's like, I don't want to, and I know that's what you guys do by giving people individualized packet, but like I never wanted to start getting 14 bottles because I wanted more calcium in my diet. Like that never seemed attractive. Are there any things that you found across all these people you've worked with, all these different tests, where people you just mentioned this woman with calcium who thought she was doing one thing, but actually ended up doing a completely different thing. Are there any other examples where if you're taking vitamin D, here's something else you need to pay attention to? If you're really concerned about your magnesium intake, here are some other things you need to pay attention to.
Yeah, I mean, vitamin D is a great example. I think it's pretty well documented now in a lot of clinical work that would say, taking vitamin D is a good thing. But you go to the store again, I mean, you can get 1,000 IUs of vitamin D or 5,000. So then it's like, and anything in between, and so it's like, how do I determine how much vitamin D I should be taking? Now, you guys live in Los Angeles, you get a lot more sunshine than, somebody living in New York, in the winter months, and so just getting the differences between the winter months and the summer months. When you have a whole bottle, you go buy a big bottle of 200, you generally don't go, oh, geez, I got to go get another bottle now because it's summertime and I'm actually getting sun. So some of that, and again, as I said earlier, it's not going to completely harm you, but it could throw out the ratio of what it's interacting with in your body, and you won't. And as a result, you're just not getting, the best performance that your body could get out of its cells. And so, just keeping up on that as an individual is obviously super hard. It's I first and foremost, and I think you believe in this strongly as well. We believe that whole food is the first source of your nutrients. Always should be. Buy good, clean, whole food and eat it properly in the right cycling. You wouldn't want to eat the same thing every single morning, night. But we see, particularly things like, large fish. I mean, I call it large predator fish often, but, salmon on up. And it's like, eating salmon is good for you. Lots of good omega-3s and 6s and whatever. If you eat it regularly, 4 or 5 times a week, you're going to end up with, an excess of mercury in your cells. It's just a reality of our oceans and our, fish farming practices and different things like that. And so that has to be detoxified from your body as a result. And so just getting all that into balance, and that can be done through nutritional supplements, by getting, the right things in your body to remove those toxic byproducts of just individual life.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned, it's an undertaking to manage this. And I think the reason so many people just give up, and I'm one of those people, the reason people give up altogether is because it's like entering a maze.
Yeah.
And that it's more complex than you realize it is when you walk in. So you say, you know what, screw it. I'm going to go the other way. I'm just going to walk the other way. And hopefully you're walking the other way towards whole foods and healthier kind of environmental input. So you have as much of what naturally occurs in living whole organisms for yourself. But honestly, I think if anything, most of us, I'm including myself in this a little bit, this has changed for me over the last decade, but most people turn to the fast, easy thing. And so I think it might be time to talk a little bit about the testing is one thing and it's great, but one of the pieces of the puzzle that you guys have put together for people is, hey, we'll send you, Sophie mentioned this a little bit, but we'll send you these packets so you don't have to think. I am today wearing a black turtleneck. Nobody can see because we're not doing video, but it makes sense for what I'm about to say next. Steve Jobs would always show up in jeans and a black turtleneck because this idea of decision fatigue. he said, I have really important things to worry about. And then there's the crap I wear. I don't care. I look okay in jeans and a turtleneck. I'm going to wear jeans and a turtleneck every single time I have a meeting I've got to show up to. Why? Because that removes decision, and then I can focus on the things that are important in life. To me, the hair testing is wonderful. The idea of now, based on that hair testing, getting some specific formulations that are hopefully proper and appropriate for your body takes it to the next level, which says, okay, now I have the knowledge. I still, just being honest, even with the knowledge, man, I don't want to go to Whole Foods or Sprouts and buy 14 bottles and have to measure out every morning what I want. So you guys do that by giving, and I see Sophie doing it all the time. I think I'm next in line somewhere.
Yeah.
You get these packets that are unique to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was, a critical part of the model, because, it's one thing to point out to people what their situation is. And, we provide a lot of information on, nutrition and food, exercise programs. It's a big part of, what we try and provide as advice as part of the, personal nutritional assessment that we provide everybody. The vitamins are, not an afterthought. They're specific to what would help you get the best outcome, we believe, and part of that's because of that decision fatigue, right? So you get your results. Now I got to go figure out who's making quality stuff,
Exactly.
What price point I can afford, that kind of stuff. But one of the most important parts I learned from Sam was, when you get your results, it might say that you need vitamin, I don't know, let's pick it up, vitamin C. Then you get your bottle, and your bottle says take one daily. But what if your body doesn't need one 7 days a week? What if it only needs it 3 days a week?
Yeah.
How do you figure that out? And we do that for you. Like your foods, the best practice in food is to cycle your foods, get all the benefits that you get from a wide variety of fresh, clean food.
Yeah.
We do the same on the vitamins, so that you don't take too much in a week or too little in a week, and get it, perfectly in balance. And then even the time of day you take it. When I had all my bottles before, I thought I was pretty good at it. I would I'd put them all out in the morning, and I'd literally take all the vitamins I needed at once.
Yeah.
And expecting my body, and so many people know if vitamin C is probably the one most people are aware of, because of you take too much, it shows up and your body excretes it pretty quickly when you visit the bathroom. So they see it in just the color of their urine. But if you need vitamin C and need a fair amount, you shouldn't take it all at one time. You should take some in the morning and some again later in the day. And we do that for you by providing you a balanced way to take it in 2 to 3 individual packs in a day, depending on what your needs are. And every day is different, and it cycles through the week and through the month. And every 28 days, we drop it back onto your doorstep, so you don't have to have a whole bottle of 300 pills that can get stale sitting in your storage conditions. We give you fresh vitamins every 28 days, so that nothing is stale, nothing gets mold on it, nothing, you don't have to worry about storage issues, that kind of stuff. So super convenient. And as you say, it takes the decision out of it.
Yeah, I love that. That's exactly was my motivation when I started philosophy, because I had so many different superfoods in my cabinet, and I was working at a juice bar for a long time, and I knew what to add for what very easily. Like I knew it secondhand, like right away. I knew what I needed intuitively. I knew how much maca to add or how much camu, and what the flavor profiles worked with together. And I knew just from so many years of experience that, when I take reishi and cacao together, it does something magical when you throw maca in there, and then like the mental focus is out of control. But I only knew that because I worked full time in a juice bar for several years, and all those experiences. The normal person like has 5 superfoods and doesn't know was it a teaspoon or a tablespoon? Was it going to taste good with this, right? So that was exactly my inspiration with philosophy, was taking the guesswork out. Like it's all, there's 6 or 7 ingredients per flavor. Each one is going to, provide different things, but overall you're just going to feel better. And yes, the Berry Bliss product might be better because it has so much vitamin C, and so it'll be better for hair, skin, and nails. But at the end of the day, they're all containing superfoods. So all of it's going to help your natural energy levels and hormones be rebalanced and all of that. So it's like hearing you talk about it, it reminds me of exactly the reason that I started it. And you actually it took me a couple weeks to realize that there were different pills in each pack. And so that was one of my questions is, why is there different vitamins on different days? Are you rotating nutrients? That was literally, I just wrote that down and then you just answered it. Do you want to ask a question, Adi? Okay. My next question, I think this is a really cool thing that if you could explain it and break it down. So in the beginning of the results, it says that I have a slow metabolism.
Yep.
And then Sam explained that it doesn't mean that what you would think it means. And I'd love for you to explain it to our listeners, just so that if they do get their test results and they see something like fast or slow, that they know what that means.
Yeah. And in particular, I mean, it's probably the most common reply back that comes back to our customer service team when people do get that results. I think some of it is, I guess to Eddie's point earlier, I was going to call it a wives' tale, but it's not really a wives' tale. But what people grew up believing, it's like, nobody wanted to grow up believing they had a slow metabolism. I mean, that usually meant that they carried extra weight, or, there was all these things that were put in their minds, often by their parents who didn't, maybe, a different generation didn't understand nutrition the same way. We go back all the time now and say that, to people, no, slow metabolism, a slow normal metabolism is your best health metabolism, because that means so first thing is that it's not your body's metabolism, it's your cell metabolism that we're providing you. So what's going on in your cells, and what's going on in your cells is just that metabolism is how fast are you chewing up energy that you're getting from your nutrition, whether it be food-based or supplementation. And so in a slow metabolizing cell, you're taking your nutrients in, and your body's cells are efficiently working through the energy that it's getting from your nutrition. People who have a fast metabolism are by default burning through their nutrition at a very quick pace, and often leaving themselves depleted. And so, in a sports analogy way, it's often like, you can go really fast for a period of time, and then you just poop out, and you just don't have the energy to finish the race, or that type of thing. And that's what happens in people with fast metabolisms, is that their cells are chewing up the nutrition that they have in their body at an accelerated rate, and it often leads them to having to throw, I'll call it, sugars in, or things that might be bad for their system, to try and get a jump from it, because their cells are consistently needing to burn off energy. And so it's a misnomer to believe that you're a slow normal is the wrong diagnosis, if you will. It's actually the best version of it. So it is a critical part of it, and it's so important to giving people. We're actually working on now even parsing out the metabolism a little bit better for people, so that we can give them even a deeper understanding of where we were in 8 big buckets before, and we're going to move to about 18 to 20 now, that have a little bit better information for them, so that they can get real focused on what they can do to help change their metabolism. And the food you eat can help you express your metabolism in a very different way, and you can change your metabolism as a result.
Interesting. Well, there are so many different directions to go. I want to, because it is winter right now, I want to pick your brain. We have a lot of listeners that are moms and dads, and just in general, it's cold and flu season. I hear so many different things of like what to take, what not to take, what's best to build your immune system. But even more importantly, once you feel like you're starting to go down, like if I notice that my son is sniffling or coughing, like what are the best things to do from a vitamin perspective, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think the one that has the most data behind it today is vitamin D. There's just, there's so much research that's been done on it, and it's been proven out, through really good studies. And the vitamin industry in general, I would say, hasn't had a lot of good science, if you will, in it that's been completed. Partly, as I entered the space, realizing that, and we all see it on so many things, like the FDA has not approved these claims. And while there was some good work done government-wise, decades ago around regulations, it's also made it such that there's an awful lot of stuff that just makes it to market that's not great for you and doesn't necessarily help you, but it gets positioned as something that can help you through cold season or whatever. And vitamin D for us is still the one that is the most important to make sure that you're getting in the winter season. But beyond that, I always come back to, you really just need to understand what your body's going through. I've been on a version of, I'll call it SAM's program, before we launched Paragon Vitamins for a long period of time, having known him for 15 plus years now. I haven't had a cold in years. I rarely get sick. But, when you get to a point where your body's consistently in maintenance program around keeping the balance, your immunity system by default is in balance, and it can help fight off. Typically, you'll pick up a cold when your body's out of balance, and then your body's sitting there you're catching things. Your immunity, we call it your immunity is low. It's really that you're out of balance, and you can pick up something very easily when your body's just not at its best state.
Absolutely. Yeah. So just kind of out, if you feel like you're getting sick a lot in the winter, or at all in general, just working on building your immune system in general, and what is it that's out of balance, and kind of like asking yourself intuitively what those questions are, and maybe getting some testing done. Maybe it's a hair sample. Maybe it's a blood test. I'm doing all those things right now because I just want to be in such control of my health and wellness, and no one likes to get sick. So awesome. Well, we always ask our guests 5 questions. And the first one is, what is the best advice you've ever received?
This isn't about Paragon anymore, right? This is just best advice ever,
this is just so that our guests get to know you better. Yeah.
So the best advice I've received, or the one I'm going on now, is it's never too late. I've had an entrepreneurial bug in me since I was young. Ended up in corporate life, and as I say, had a very rewarding and productive career. But you question yourself on whether or not you can go do something as you move along in age, and it's never too late to start, and you just need to push forward and do it.
Love it.
Absolutely love that. That's great. I adhere to that myself. Question number 2, and maybe we talked about it in here, and it's a follow-up to the first one for you. What has been your proudest moment to date?
Proudest moment to date. Well, my kids are my proudest moment. I've got grown children now that are out of the house, but raising what I'd say are 2 well-adjusted and good, loving kids that believe that life is full of opportunity and excitement, and having seen that as somebody that. It's always so much more important to see it when they leave and how they act as human beings versus when you have direct control over them. So it's my biggest accomplishment in life in some ways, but the one I'm probably have the biggest gratitude for too is just how well as both their parents were able to see them through it all, and that wasn't because there weren't challenges.
Sure.
You've got those ahead of you still.
What about on the flip side, your most difficult, or one of your most difficult moments?
I've got within my family, we've had some difficult times. I lost my father when I was 24 years of age, and he had just turned 50 when he passed. He was diagnosed with kidney cancer when he was in his late 40s, like 49, and only lasted for 6 months or whatever. So, just at that young age, it's a difficult thing to understand, obviously, but it's the the biggest challenges were, beyond his passing. I mean, obviously the grief and the difficulty with the situation while he was sick and then passing is there, but there's so much more to it that is there for years afterwards. And I've seen different responses within my family members. I'm fully aware of mental health issues within our family, and it's a difficult time, and I look back on it, and every year is still got its challenges related to that. And so probably the biggest thing that's affected my life, both in a positive and in a negative way.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I lost my father around the age of 30, and a little older than that, but it's still not something you expect to have to go through that early.
No, not prepared for it, right? So you think you think you're worldly until you hit something like that.
Yeah, so true. Obviously Paragon is all about self-care by itself. How do you make sure that you're taking care of your body, your mind in a way that helps you show up as your best self on a regular basis?
Like Sophie, mind you, I'm not sure, Sophie, if you're still doing it, but I did see some posts. I'm an F45er. Yeah.
Awesome.
I did. I was like, I saw that afterwards. I was like, fantastic. I love that. And actually, my daughter is one of our co-founders in Paragon Vitamins, and she was the one that she was getting married last year and joined F45 when it first showed up in Canada. And she loved it. And I'm a bit competitive. I love to, going to the gym and just, going around, wandering around and doing it by myself versus, in a class environment that is moving at a fast pace and stuff. So that's a big part of my physical routine.
Yeah.
Obviously my Paragon Vitamins, and, I believe strongly I've been a, fresh, clean, whole food eater for a decade or something more, and been on the belief that that's a big part of just being healthy. And so stay at it. And that's my latest, though, is the F45. I think it's sweeping the nation at a pretty quick pace right now.
Yeah, I've done. I was a personal trainer in my early 20s. I'm a yoga instructor, and it takes a lot to keep my attention and to make me happy in a class. And I'm digging it right now. I like it a lot. I think it's funny. I'm not competitive at all. I'm the opposite. I'm like, let's all, but I love it. And I think that just the energy, I love being around people. And I think the energy and the motivation of everyone else and how inspired they are inspires me. So it's cool that we have very different. I never feel like I'm competing with any one person, but I feel like it's sort of competing with myself, and then just like the energy in the room makes you want to do better. Exactly.
And it's like, so that part of it I found fascinating. And having done other fitness things before, never really seen that sort of mindset that came with it.
They definitely did a good job of creating that and making everyone feel like family and like we're all in this together and we're all fighting together. So definitely love that. Yeah. And then last but not least, our podcast is called Ignited. What ignites you?
New learning. I'm a huge believer. I've had a lot of intellectual curiosity throughout my life, and there's nothing that ignites me more than learning things that I can do differently. Try whether it's different fitness routines, or try different foods, or travel to different places. So I love to learn, and that's what ignites me every day. Is that you're only here for a certain period of time, and make the most of it every single day, and take in as much as you possibly can.
I love it. I love it so much. And I love that some of your learning has led you to working with Sam on this product line. Because it's always nice when we learn how to make our knowledge base better, we also end up helping a bunch of other people in the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you. Really appreciate it. Love what
thank
you're
you guys.
doing. Yeah, so cool.
Yeah, I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, I could pick your brain forever, but thank you. I think this is really valuable to a lot of people in a very confusing space. So thank you very much for all you do.
Yeah, and I have a feeling I haven't verified it, but this is how I like to put people on the spot and get this for our listeners. I have a feeling we're going to have a special code with a link down here in the show notes for all of our listeners who want to try what Paragon has to offer.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much
too.
for tuning in, everybody. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Ignited podcast. We were so happy to have you along for this ride. Please go and subscribe to this. Leave us a review. We love hearing from you. And if you want more, don't forget to go to ignited.com, where all the podcast episodes are available with show notes and so many of the little details and links from each one of these interviews. And you can look at all the future events that we have going on, all the things that make Ignited so special, even beyond this recording. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week.